Episode 1 of CarCast TV. No guests today, but that's going to become every couple episodes. There's just not going to be a guest. It's just going to be me talking about something. So really today, with this episode in mind, I want to just shed some light on a certain topic that's kind of been weighing on me, and that's kind of the dependency you have in your life. Sometimes for some people, I feel like that weighs you down a bit, and I just kind of want to break it down because it really shouldn't. And that's kind of the goal with these episodes. The goal of the channel really right now is just kind of to shed light on certain topics, and also just kind of certain, just aspects of life and how you view the world in general, because I feel like I see the world differently than other people, and rightfully so. Everybody sees the world differently than each other. So I just wanted to show how I saw it, how I see things, and maybe someone will pick something up. So I'm hoping that this video will inform somebody, or just kind of open their perspective to how they view their situations and stuff like that. So without further ado, I just feel like with my life personally, being dependent on certain things, it's really, it feels like you're trapped. It feels like the goal is to become independent of everything. But when you really think about it, that's just not true, right? I mean, you can become independent, but when you become independent, you're still dependent on things. You're still dependent on certain things happening in your life that you need to go right. Every time you wake up, you're dependent on if there's food, if there's water, is your house still there, is your car gonna work. There's a lot of things people are dependent on that no matter how independent they feel, they still depend on certain things. So just some are more dependent than others, and I feel like if you look at it like that, you kind of just see it differently. You don't look to other people and compare your life to theirs, and you're thinking, where you're at in life, you don't deserve to be there, right? Like, some people might think they don't deserve to be where they're at in life, and I feel like really you gotta just think about it. Everything you've done in your life to this point, has it led you to being where you're at? And if that's yes, then you deserve to be where you're at. And if that's no, you should think about that more and understand, well, then where should you be at, right? And don't try to give yourself a bias. Just think about what you're doing that you could do that's gonna get you to where you should be at. I feel like people don't do that. I don't do that. It's really just like conditional, I feel. People don't always like to admit that, but if you're in a situation, you're gonna think about where you want to be and not where you are, because when you think about it, every time you get where you want to be, you're looking to be somewhere else. You're looking to be at the next best place. And I feel like that is kind of, you should be grateful. I'm grateful thinking about it like that, because when you think about it, I mean, there's places where you're at and you look back and you realize this is where you wanted to be, and now you're seeing the next step. So if you think of it kind of like a hallway, and there's gates every 6 feet or so, the things you do in life give you keys, and each key unlocks that gate and you move on to the next gate. So you've been working so hard to get this key. When you finally unlock that gate, you're really wanting the next key. You're not even thinking about the fact that you used to think so hard about that previous key you needed to unlock that gate just to get to this end of the hallway. You don't even know it's at the end. You can't see it, it's so far away, but you're still really rooting to get the next key to open the gate right in front of you. And some people are thinking they want that final key. How do we get the final key? Some people don't want to move at all in this hallway, and that's kind of what life is. It's really just a sequence of gates that you open, and then there's more gates, and you're trying to open each gate by doing certain works. Earthly matters, right? You're just trying to work on what you can get materially and how you're gonna advance yourself forward in life, right? I feel like that it doesn't go in hand with independence, but they're kind of one and the same. The more independent you are, the more you don't really need the next key. You know what I mean? You don't need the next key. Some people need the key. You know, some people will work their life away just to get one key, and other people, they only work a day and they get 4. You know, they move higher with less work. And people think, well, all this stuff I did, I should be at like the 5th gate, right? But this he's at the 20th gate, and he didn't do nearly half as much as I did. So it kind of makes you jealous, maybe. You might get jealous, but that really all that does is it hurts you more than it hurts them. It's going to hurt you more than it will hurt anybody else around you if you're just going to think negatively about yourself because you're not ahead like everybody else. And it goes to like comparing your life to other people. You don't want to do that. You know, you don't want to compare how you're living your life to somebody else. And really, it's just like, you only live one time. You know, you only live one time. This is the first time being on earth, right? This is your first time here. You know, looking at other people where they are in life, who it doesn't really, you know, hold up, right? It doesn't hold up because this isn't like something that's gonna reoccur. So don't waste this, you know, short time just holding on to other people's, you know, positions in life. It's not worth it. It's not really worth it, I don't think. And I feel like that's just because we hold so much value to what's on earth. We hold so much value to what's on earth, but we forget that there's so little value to the earth itself compared to other celestial objects. I mean, you look at like Jupiter, Saturn, the sun, other galaxies. And I don't mean to like dwarf every, you know, all of our, you know, problems and what we've done, but it's like we really hold on to things that they're just too small. They're too small to really hold on to. So instead of focusing on why someone else is 4 gates ahead of you, just keep focusing on unlocking your gates, you know, because when you think of it like a hallway with gates, this whole game of life, you have to think everybody's got a different hallway. Someone might only have 5 gates. Someone might have 1,000 gates, right? But at the end of the day, we're all trying to push for the same goal. We're all trying to push for the same goal, right? Some people have different ways of going about it. Some people do certain things to get to that goal that we don't necessarily have to do, but we're all chasing one thing, and it's just freedom, right? I mean, and when I say freedom, that means like to anything. Freedom to do this or that, or to just run away, to live off in seclusion. It's just the freedom to do anything, right? Because when you have freedom like that, you can do anything. But we're kind of tied down by the like the realities of life, and that holds us down. It's like a string tied to each of your fingers, and then, you know, ropes tied to your arms, and, you know, chains tied to your legs, and it's just heavier and heavier things holding you down, and you have to snip each one off. And each time you snip one off, you just lose so much energy. It takes you years to finally get the last chain off. And by the time you get the last chain off, you're gone, you know? So instead of worrying about how fast somebody else is getting out of their chains, just focus on yourself, right? Focus on where you're at instead of focusing on where they're at. And that will help you to understand that you might be holding on to some things. You might be stuck in a spot because of factors that are not in your control, or, you know, you're dependent on this just working out, right? You want something to work out, but it might not work out. And that's when you have to realize that this dependency is really, it's not subjective, but it's like, it's not everything. It's not everything. You're not always going to, you know, get what you want, right? You might depend on something going your way, but if it doesn't go your way, then what? There's always a then what. There's always a what now, right? What now if it doesn't work out? What now? That's what you have to think of it. I mean, what now if I just decided to quit doing this right now? What if I just decided to quit? I mean, what would happen now? If it doesn't go my way, it doesn't go my way. I can't control that. So instead of holding on to that, like as it's a dependency, I just kind of let go. I have to just let go. And when I say let more, just kind of becoming humble with yourself, humble with your situation, rather than having too much pride for the position you're in. Some people have too much pride for where they're at. They think too highly of themselves, and they're in a position that doesn't, their levels are not equal. So they're too proud, and that proudness is starting to crumble because it's too high up off the surface. It's too high off of your reality. And that will affect how you think about yourself, other people, your life. It will make you negative when you don't want to be negative. You want to be proud, you want to be powerful, but when you're in a position that in reality just can't support this level of pride, you have to be humble. And the more humble you become, your life it just becomes better. And I know that sounds like ridiculous. I don't know how crazy this sounds until I watch this video over, but you have to look at your life and understand how proud are you, and not proud of proud to be proud in the sense of how boastful are you, how exaggerated do you become based on your position in your life. I mean, you could be a cashier at a restaurant, and you could be as proud as a CEO, and that can affect you negatively. It can affect you negatively because you're too proud for the place you're at. It can't support that pride. So it just starts to crumble at any moment when you realize the dependency you're relying on, because the higher you go up, the more dependent you become, because now your pride is dependent on everything going right. And when you put yourself in this pride, it's like putting yourself in a paper tower surrounded by hot coals. It's only a matter of time before it goes up in flames. You don't want to set yourself in a paper tower surrounded by hot coals, because every time you add onto this tower, every time you get more and more prideful, you're just stacking yourself higher, and the higher they are, the harder you fall, So don't put yourself in a position that's too high for you to actually maintain. Now, it's okay to be, proud, right? Maybe like a small like this, but not like this. And that is where you might not even realize you're this high up. You might think you're this high up, but you might be way up here. And that's why some people don't understand why they feel so cold about they feel so torn apart, because these chains are just holding them down, and they really want to jump up, but they're holding you down because you went too high up. And it's okay to go high up, but you can't go high up and expect things to be good mentally, because it's not gonna be good mentally. It's just gonna hurt you when things don't go your way. Now, it's kind of a gamble, because if you go high up and you make it, that's a good thing, because now you've stacked yourself, and you're gonna raise up, and you're gonna go through the roof. But not everybody has that luck to them. So to a regular person like me, or somebody like, realistically, how proud could you be where you're at? Could you be proud at all? Or could you be pretty proud, right? Very proud? It's really up to you how high you want to stack that tower, but you have to be willing to accept the consequences. And if you believe you don't want to be like that, maybe you want to give up some of this pride. You want to start cutting off some of the chunk, the levels, the stories to this tower. Do it. Don't hold this tower up any longer, because it's only going to hurt you when it falls back on you. Right? It's like it will shatter who you are, because you're going to think too greatly of yourself, and that's going to be your downfall. So you think about how dependent you are on certain things going your way in life, and you think how dependent you are on the circumstances around you, but you should be humble in who you are, and just find yourself in this place, in this system that we call, life, right? And understand that it's okay to be where you're at. But if you want to be somewhere else, it's not a good thing to stack the tower this high. Maybe stack it this high, but don't go too high. Some people try to jump too high, and that will come crashing down on them. And this is a good example. This is a solo episode, so I'm not exactly tied to following certain rules with myself, but I can use myself as an example. I can't put all of my work into this video. I can't make this the best video ever. It's just not going to be the best video ever. And I understand that. I know I'm going to have an imperfect video when I post this. It's just not going to, it's just how it's going to be. But I'm okay with that because I know that that's just how it has to be. Maybe 50 episodes later, you guys will see some change. And maybe I can make the perfect video then, but I'm not making the perfect video now. And there's nothing I can do about it. But I've come to accept that. I know I'm not going to stack myself this high up. I'm not going to let myself depend on this video being perfect and finding out it's not. Because if I do find out it's not perfect, I'm not going to be happy. I'm gonna kind of fall in on myself because I'm going to imagine something that's not real. You know, maybe if I was a great video editor, a great, you know, YouTuber or whatnot, I would have these standards wouldn't be paper, but maybe like wood or stone. You know, it would be more sturdy. It wouldn't be crazy weak, right? But I know who I am, and I know that if I stack my expectations, my pride so high in myself, it would crash down as soon as I realize that that's just not how it's going to be. And I'm okay with that. But that's what the lesson, I guess, I'm trying to solve for myself and for anybody who might struggle with this. You have to find a good balance. You have to find a good balance. How good or how high can you go where you won't fall? And I'm sure you know the answer to that. I'm sure you know how humble you need to become to find peace and happiness in your life, in your life, not in the people you know, not in the people close to you or above you or below you or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's just you, because where you are in your life, it will affect other people around you. It will affect everybody you encounter and in turn affect the people they encounter. It's a giant butterfly effect, giant domino effect. But that's kind of the reason why it's so important to really take care of who you are, because if you let yourself stray too far from yourself, it's like pulling a slingshot from your chest outwards, and then the further you go out, it's just gonna hurt more when it comes back in on you, right? It's gonna hurt more when that rubber band slaps back on your chest. You don't want to pull it out too far. Maybe like halfway. How hard are you willing to feel? How much pain are you willing to take from pulling the slingshot? That's just how you should go into feeling it. Because if you're okay with, seeing these things crash on you, it's okay if you're okay with it. But if you're not okay with that, bring that tower down. Bring it down a bit, right? It's okay to let go of how you feel about, yourself, if it means you'll feel better in the long run. If you're not feeling good about yourself today, it might be because of this. It might be because you might not know it. I certainly didn't. But it might be because you're not, you're expecting too much of yourself. You're expecting too much in return for what you do, but you're not able to, put in that much work. Your input just doesn't compute to that output that you're expecting to come out. It's like putting in 1 + 1 and expecting 5. If 1 + 1 was expected to equal 5, then the one and the other one, they're not gonna, every time they see 2 come out, they're not gonna be happy because they're expecting a 5. They're expecting it to equal 5, but it's not. It's 2. So you can't expect something that cannot be of you, unless you reach that level, unless that 1 became a 4, or they both became a 2 and a 3. They're not gonna be equal to 5. You know what I mean? The same way that if you don't increase your potential, increase your experience, your skill, your work ethic, your just anything about you that you can increase that could then output what you want in your life, you're not going to see that. For me, consistency, strength, and just overall mindset you have, that's something that I need to work on personally to bring out the outputs that I want in my life. And the same would go for you. What outputs do you want in your life, and what inputs do you need to be increasing to result in that? Or what inputs do you need to be reducing? Maybe you have to lay back on some things in order to get what you want. Because when you're getting things that you don't, you're not expecting, when you're seeing results that you don't want, that you're not expecting, that aren't of who you think you are, then you're just going to think less of yourself. Maybe even more than you should. And that's a problem, because it helps it worsens who we are, and it in turn worsens our relations with other people, and that's not good. That's not good. So just try to be humble, I guess. Just try to be humble, because if you can start by being humble, you'll see what just changed in you. You know, if you be humble for like 3 days, you'll see what you didn't do that you would have normally done. What do you normally do in a day-to-day life that is for some reason causing you to feel this way? Is it because you're addicted to something? Maybe is it because you get angry at a certain part of the day? Is it because you slack off somewhere in the day? Is it because you do this? There's something that you do because you're not humble. And if you are humble, maybe you're a really humble person, but you still feel this way. Well, then look at it like how I was saying with the strings and the braces and the ropes that are tying you down. You might be humble and understand that this is just how it is. You're not gonna throw a fit. You're not gonna expect more, but you might be overthinking yourself. You might be undervaluing yourself. Maybe you're expecting more, or maybe you're expecting less, but you can output more. Maybe you need to reevaluate what you're getting out and what who you are, and then change accordingly. And what I mean is, like, you might be able to output more than you're actually outputting right now. You might be able to expect more of yourself because you can actually bring in those results. And that's a good thing to understand, is because you want to find the optimal level, the optimal balance. It goes for anything. You want to find the optimal situation in everything. So the same should be applied to us in our lives. You should find the most optimal life that you can live. And some of us, we have to work harder. Some of us, we might have to even work less. It just depends on what we see as optimal in our very specific lives. Because a lot of us think that we're just drones who just live monotonous lives and everything is the same. We do all the same things, and to some extent that's true, but everybody lives differently. Everybody does different things. Some people do nearly identical things, but there's something that they have that makes them different, and there's something that they do that maybe even subconsciously that they do that makes them unique. So you don't want to I don't look at life that way, but I don't want to impose how I feel about life on anybody, because I don't see any way of living wrong. There's no right or wrong way to live. You can live any way you want. I mean, it really doesn't matter. I mean, I don't know what the right way of life is to live. I don't know. So I can't really say on that, because at the end of the day, this is my first time here. So I don't actually know the right way to live. I've never been here I've never been here long enough to see which way is right and which way is wrong. I just know the way that I live life has brought about the results that I have, and I've observed other people's lives and seen what that's brought them, but I don't want to exactly say that any which way of living is right or wrong, because obviously the way I live life is different than a lot of other people, even people close to me. So I can't be like which way is better, which way is not, because it's a topic for another video. But every second that we hold on to these things, going back to just what I was talking about, every second we hold on to these things, it's just another second that we're letting that tower be subject to being burned and crashing down. Every time we hold it up, it's a gamble. It's like every time I went to the casino and threw everything I had on black. It's a gamble. If it wins, great, but if it doesn't, it all comes crashing down on me, and it hits me hard like a slingshot snapping back on my chest or my face. I don't want that to happen, right? I don't want it to happen. Of course, I want the good benefits out of it, but if it was to fail, I don't want that. So instead, I would just be realistic, because if in reality I'm here, I'm not gonna stack my expectations here, because I'm just not there. I'm just not there. And it's hard to know exactly where you're at, because you might think, you might really believe that you're somewhere you're not. And that's just because you've built this image of yourself that you might have not, you should have probably not have done that, because now You think too highly of yourself, and when you realize that that's not where you're at, it hurts. And I know that because my personal experiences, when you really tell yourself that you're better than you actually are, it hurts even more to find out that that's not true. To find out that you actually can't do the things that you thought you could because you expected a higher level than where you actually were at. And that's just life. It's finding where we're at and how to balance it and accurately anticipate us changing in the future, actively anticipating how much better I'll be at something to match the expectations, the safe expectations I have for myself. Not the crazy, out of the world expectation or belief of who I am. And all that really does is just make the chains and the strings and the ropes that are tying me down, the dependencies I have in my life, even greater, because now they're just pulling down even harder. Because now I'm letting myself up to if these expectations are going to be true of me or not. So when you let that go and you just bring yourself back to your, bring yourself back to your core, think about it. Who are you really, and what can you really do? Not what you think you can, but what can you really do? So don't think about what you can do. Just see what you've actually done. Look around you. What have you done? Look around and point out things that you have done. Maybe you built something. Maybe you achieved something. Maybe you've completed something. Maybe anything that you have done. And look at what really is, in life. What other people can see and know that you have done. Not what you think you can do, but what you have. And then gauge yourself based on that. Well, if I've done all these things, I can expect that I can do these things, So hypothetically, like, you can expect to do one task if you've seen yourself already have doing, similar things, similar tasks. That's more of a better way to look at it. So when you're stuck somewhere and you don't really think you belong, or you're stuck somewhere and you just don't, you just feel so like lifeless because you're stuck on depending on certain things or whatever the case may be. Look at what you've really done and then think, how, are my expectations higher than what I am? And if they are, maybe I'm thinking too high of myself, and that's making me think I don't deserve to be in this position. Or maybe that's making me think that this position is hurting me, in life. Maybe I'm in a spot in life where I think I shouldn't be there, but in reality I should be. And once I find that out, it makes me feel better about being here, because it's like, everybody is going to traverse through life differently. So to find out that I'm in the right spot, maybe I think I'm in the wrong spot. Maybe I think I'm supposed to be 20 gates down and I'm like at the third gate, and I'm like, this is not, I'm thinking to myself, I don't think I should be here. But in reality, I've been doing enough work. I've been doing what I should have been doing. I look around, I'm like, I've done all these things. This has led me to this spot, right? I'm on track. I'm going to get to the end of the hallway before it's all over. I'm not behind. I'm not ahead. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. People think that they are ahead or behind, but you're exactly where you should be. And it sounds, dumb to say, but if you're where you're at and you don't believe it, and you see around you and you realize you shouldn't be there in every sense of the word, then look for the opportunity that will get you that key. Look for the opportunity that's going to move you forward to your next position, your next step. Because I guarantee you, once you've done enough, there's going to be opportunities that are going to keep bringing themselves up again and again and again. And every time you miss them, you're just going to stay somewhere you shouldn't be, and it's going to negatively affect you, because you think that you can do more, and you can do more, but you're not in reality doing enough, so it's just all thoughts. And that's not good, because if they don't become reality, they're going to stay thoughts forever. They're never going to actually leave you're never going to leave and become physical. And that's just going to keep you in that mindset of thinking you can do something, but you can't, you're not actually doing so. It's just a bad way. It's just a bad cycle to get caught in. And you should, find that opportunity
And sometimes it's a weird, obscure opportunity. You don't realize that it's the opportunity you've been wanting until you take it and you realize what benefits it's going to bring you. A lot of people skip out on random things that could really, positively affect where they are in life, but they don't take those things because they think to themselves, this doesn't make sense. This isn't related to what I'm doing. This isn't related to my life, or whatever the case may be. And they just don't do it. And because they don't do it, now they missed, you never know what will happen when you do something. And I mean, if you look back in your life, you look back, everything that you didn't want to do, was there anything positive you gained out of it? Was there anything that you are glad that you did do it? There's a lot of people I know who have had a moment in their life where they didn't want to do something, but they did it, and it turned out that they actually really were grateful that they, went and did that, because it changed them, and it changed them for the better, and it moved them forward. It progressed them through the next stages of their life. And that's important to know. Everybody moves through this differently. We're all in the same pace as a population, but we're all moving, differently. Some people are over here, but they're not ahead. They're just over here. It's not like a race per se. It's not like a race per se. No one's leading or falling behind. We're all just in different positions and just moving forward. The same plane, same existence, same planet. There's no better place to be. It's all Earth. So I mean, you're only moving in different positions here. You're not actually getting ahead. I mean, the only thing you can possibly get ahead in is because your mindset's off. You're thinking there. When you think someone's ahead, they might not even think they're ahead. They might think they're behind. So what are you thinking? You could be thinking something in your head. In reality, that's just not the case. And I mean, it only ever hurts you to think like that. So keep in mind that that's not something you should, come in thinking like, if I can be ahead or behind. When you're stuck thinking like this, that could be the solution to your problem. You just might be thinking about it all wrong. Or right. I mean, I'm not to say that this is the right way to think or the wrong way to think. I'm just saying that thinking the way that how I've thought about it this way, it's helped me. So I would imagine it would help any one of you. So thinking about it like a race just doesn't help you grow. It kind of keeps you behind. And at the end of the day, if you want to find peace and you just want to be happy with who you are, and you want to understand who you are, more importantly, you want to understand who are you, what makes you you, right? A lot of people don't even have the answer to that question. I don't even know if I have the answer to that question. I don't know what makes me myself. If I was asked that question, I wouldn't be able to answer them truthfully. I would probably make things up, like I've done this and that, but it's so much deeper than just what you've done, that it's such a hard question to answer until you finally found that answer. You can't guess. And that goes into this whole idea of, being stuck in a place you don't want to be stuck in. But it's like, when you think you're stuck, you're not stuck in a pit. You might be just stuck on the side of the hill, if that makes sense. I guess a good way to think of it is like 5 years prior to where you are now, I would imagine you were probably not better off, right? I'd imagine, for me, 5 years prior to where I'm at, I can imagine myself, if this was a hill, I was at the bottom of the hill. And I might not be at the top, but I'm at the steeper end of the hill. It got really steep. So I think I'm stuck. I can't elevate any higher, it feels like. I feel like I just cannot get up any higher. I'm not stuck in a pit. I'm just stuck close to the top. So when you think of it like that, you're not far from where you want to be. You're just stuck on a steep end. You're not in a pit and impossible. You're never going to make it up to where you want to be. You're just at the steep end of a hill, steep end of a mountain. You just need to go a little bit further, but it's not going to be easy. It never is easy. It's never easy, because every time you get close to being where you want to be, it's almost as like it converges. It starts out flat, but as you get closer to the center, as you get closer to your goal, it steepens until it's just completely vertical and you just have to just push. It's so weird how it works, because it's something that almost everybody probably goes through. Every time you try to get a hold of something or try to achieve a goal, it always seems to get harder and harder the closer you get to it. And that's all because that's just life. I don't know exactly how to tell it, because it's different for everybody. But for me, every time I get close to a goal, a new challenge approaches. I get one step closer and another step erects out of the ground. You know what I mean? Because it looks like you only have, let's say, like 10 steps to get to the top. 5 steps in, 10 more steps just came up, and now you got 10 more steps to go, or 15 more steps to go. It just doesn't make sense. There's only 10 steps when I started this, and now there's 15 more after I've already went up 5. You know, you do 5 tasks and more show up. You got to understand, the closer you get, it just gets more, and you start to understand it more. You start to see more about it. And when you see more about it, you start to see more problems. You see more steps show up that you didn't see before. So when things look easy at first, it's easy to want to run in and start. But once you start to see all of the steps show up, you get scared and you start to realize, no, I can't do this. And you realize, wait, I didn't sign up for this many. You know, you start to curl up and collapse. And when you collapse and you stay there, this is what happens. You start to think, I don't belong here. You know, you're tied down to this spot. You're dependent on all these things, but you don't belong there. You never did. You always were meant to make it to the top of that staircase, but you told yourself that you're not ready for that. You know, you told yourself, that's too many steps. I'm going to just stop and relax. And the longer you relax, the longer you stay idle, you start to rust, and you're no longer able to, the longer something just sits and doesn't move, cobwebs start to grow, right? Things just start to stiffen you, and you can't move anymore. You know, so when you finally decide to get up and move again, you can't. And that's why you never should just stop. You shouldn't just give in to the chains and the strings and the ropes that are holding you down. Always keep pushing forward, right? Always keep climbing up, even when it goes 90 degrees. Don't stop. Don't stop because it got too steep. Don't stop because too many steps just showed up. Don't stop, because when you do stop, that's when you have these problems. The problems that you face are because you probably slowed down at one point in your life. You probably stopped somewhere, and now you're feeling that rust kick in again, and you're realizing, I don't know if I can make it. Or you're like, I'm stuck again, and I want to move forward, but, that's just life. Because nobody's perfect. We've all probably stopped somewhere. We've all probably taken a break for too long, and we've rusted a bit. And now we're trying to move again, and we're feeling that stiffness. We're feeling that stiffness. It's harder to want to make these moves, these advances towards our goals, that we're not seeing the results like we wanted to. You know, we're like, I want to be here. I was supposed to be here this year, but it's looking like I'm not going to make it till 2 years from now. I don't know what to do. It's the expectations. It's the expectations of where you should be. It's good to have them, but like I said, when they don't go your way, where are you going to feel it? Are you going to feel it in your heart, your brain, your hands? Where do you how much pain do you want to feel when you realize it's not going to go your way? It's crushing. It's crushing when you find out that something big just didn't happen. But it's almost unavoidable. It's that dark shadow of consequences that is in the shadow. It's the shadow of success, of it working out. There's that shadow of it doesn't work out, and that shadow is looking right at you and telling you it's not working out. And once it engulfs you and you realize it didn't actually work out, you feel so like it's over, man. And you just want to curl up and just give up, and that is understandable. Of course you want to give up. Everybody wants to or not give up, but maybe just stay where you're at, Okay, this didn't work. I'm not going to move any further. You start to realize maybe it's not that bad here, but you don't like it. Because if you did like it, you wouldn't have these problems that you're probably facing right now that are causing you to resonate with the words that I'm saying. And if you are, and you get what I'm saying though. You would, if you understand these feelings, if you understand what you're going through to some extent, you would understand that you do want to move forward, but something's just holding you back. Something is holding you back, and you feel like you're too dependent on things, and that is just, you don't like that. You don't like that, but like I said, you just have to humble yourself, find the happy medium where your expectations meet reality, right? Either here, wherever your expectations need to be to match your reality, find that and apply it to your life, and just let go of the idea of being so dependent. Let go of the idea of feeling so trapped by the things that you're holding you down in life, and don't stop moving. Don't stop moving. Nothing good comes out of idle things, right? If money doesn't move, it doesn't grow. You need the money to move to grow. If you don't start walking, you'll never get anywhere in life. So you need to move then, right? That's just how it is. It's motion. It's motion. You just have to move. You have to move. You don't have to move, but if you want to see growth, you gotta move. Nothing that grows doesn't move, right? Plants move when they grow. They move up when they grow. They move down when they grow, Motion is just how things, it's just another way of success, right? It's just another way of success. So when you stop and chill for a bit in your position, you're like, you saw an opportunity, it let you down, you had too much expectations, now you're like, I'm just gonna stop moving, I'm not gonna go there. That's when you feel it the most, because now you're feeling the effects of what that shadow was telling you. You're feeling this darkness kind of surrounds your life. You're feeling it kind of cover your soul. You're not feeling energized, you're not feeling pumped, you're not feeling ready to do this or that, or you're just kind of mellow, you're just kind of melancholy. You're not exactly this or that. You're just kind of down. And that's not, if that's what you want, that's what you want, but that's not what I want. And I imagine that there's people out there who don't want that either. And I just feel like that is why it's important to understand where you're at, right? Understand where you're at, but more importantly, understand why you're at, why are you there? And then when is the change going to come, right? When are you going to make that first move? When are you going to finally take those opportunities that have been passing you up day in, day out and use them, right? That's when greatness really shows, is when you start to really use these opportunities. It's never about what you can do on your own, but it's about what you can do with the help surrounding you, right? So I feel like that's really just, that's it. I feel like that's the problem that's been kind of just stuck in my mind. I just wanted to really talk it out. I thought if I, went here, did my thing, get my first episode, right? First episode of CarCast. I guarantee you, not every episode will be like this. So this is kind of like a anomaly. There's usually going to be different topics and other things going on, but overall, this is what you should expect. This is just somebody sitting in a car talking about something, and just kind of bringing a new perspective, right? I just want to bring a new perspective to people who might not see it the way I do. And if they do, well then, I don't know. This video really just is to kind of get things off my mind. It's nothing to take too seriously, but if it helps, take it, because there is not going to be a day that you'll miss if you took opportunities. There's never going to be a day that you'll miss if you did something that you didn't want to do, or did something that you've been wanting to do, because the days that you waste are the days where things just didn't happen. The days that you waste are just those days that nothing happened, right? But the days that you remember are the days that things were happening, things were just going on. I get like first day of school, for example. For people who go to school, the first day, you usually remember because that's the first day that something happened, right? It's the first day of changing up your schedule from previous, right? And that's a reason why you remember things like that. And, also like emotions and whatnot, I guess. But overall, just don't miss out. Don't miss out. Don't miss out on what you could be because you're living with where you are, right? Because you can miss out on what you can be, and you'll never even get to see what you could have been because you just stayed with where you are, right? And a lot of people feel stuck with where they're at, and they shouldn't be. They shouldn't feel stuck because they're not stuck. They're just not moving, and that's the problem. When you're not moving, you feel stuck. So you gotta keep moving. You gotta keep moving, but you gotta remember where you're at and why you're there. Understand that you need to be humble with yourself before you move forward. It's the same reason why someone wouldn't go skipping around in a minefield, because they know where they're at. So they're gonna change how they act. And this kid could have been skipping his whole life, and once he reaches the minefield, if he knows it's a minefield, he's probably not gonna skip because he doesn't want to blow up. So be mindful of where you're at and understand that you can change that by correcting your input and what you get out of it. You don't want that to be messed up, because then it's just a failed machine and you're not going to get anything out of it. And when you're not getting something, when you're not doing something, those are wasted moments. So always make sure you're not wasting moments. And it's okay to have fun and whatnot, but just make sure that you're having a day where there's just where you did something. It could be anything, but something that's going to help you to realize that where you're at isn't the end of it. Where you're at is not the end of the world. It's not that devastating. You think you have chains tied to your legs and your arms, but really it's just small strings wrapped on your wrists, right? It's not as devastatingly tying you down as you think. You have a lot of room to keep moving forward. There's a lot more gates for you to keep opening. You just need to get the keys, and the only way you're going to get those keys is if you stick to who you are and you focus on making the right efforts to better yourself, and those keys will find you and you'll be able to keep moving forward in life. And I don't have anything else to say. So I feel like I solved the problem for myself, and I hope I solved anything for anybody else watching this video. And that's the first episode of CarCast TV. Signing out.